Kris, how did moving away from Rushville to Florida end up making you come back?
Yeah, I had to just, work on myself and take that time to better myself. And, it kind of worked out because, I moved back, and within, a year I had, got married, had a kid, and bought a house. So it's just funny how everything comes full circle. And, I think it's worked out for me pretty good.
Welcome to this edition of the Hoel Truth Podcast. Today, as we continue our little mini-series on sales reps, Mr. Kris Combs is joining us today. So, Kris, take a minute, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your family.
Yeah, my name is Kris Combs. I'm a project manager at Hoel Roofing, and I got a beautiful wife, one beautiful little girl. She's a year and just turned 4 months. Yeah, it's a beautiful family.
Grew up in Rushville, live in Rushville. Did you ever leave, come back, anything like that?
Yeah, so I grew up in Rushville for 23 years, and then the family packed up and moved to Florida. So I was like, heck yeah. And, growing up, I never thought that, living in Florida would be, a possibility. I thought only rich people lived in Florida. So had a Camaro at the time and had basically nothing to my name. So I just packed everything up in my Camaro and moved to Florida. It was in northern Florida, it's Jacksonville, but yeah, I loved it there. And then lived there for probably 3.5 years, and then moved back August of 23, and been here ever since.
So did the entire family move back with you, or?
Well, so the reason why everybody moved down there was my brother. He got a promotion. He was working for Enterprise at the time, and they moved him down to Jacksonville.
Okay.
And he had just had his first child, and they moved down there, and then my mom and my stepdad moved down there. And I think it was good for them just because at the time my stepdad wasn't doing too well, health-wise, and they had the Mayo Clinic down there. So I think being in the heat kind of helped him a little bit. So they all moved down there, and, the grandkids kind of move that process along. So they moved down there in February. I think it was funny because it was February right when COVID started. So I was I probably shouldn't have been traveling at that time, but heck, it was, move to Florida, you'll take some risk. But so they moved down there, and then I don't know, maybe 6 months later I moved as well.
Okay. So journey meeting your wife, married now with a beautiful young little one there. What's that look like? I had to work on myself a little bit when I was in Florida, so I didn't really do much. But other than work, go to the gym, come home, and that was basically it. So I moved back here, and it's actually kind of funny. I don't know if my wife would be happy with me saying this, but I'll kind of go through the story of how we kind of got back in touch, because I've known. Don't get yourself in trouble, but go ahead, tell us the story.
I think she'll be okay with it. But my wife, I've known her since I was 8 years old, and had a crush on her since I was 8 years old. So we were both gym rats, and it was the week we had to move my mom's craft stuff back, the week before we actually moved back. So we came back for a week. I knew she worked at the Anytime Fitness down the road, and so I went down there, worked out a little bit, and then she was working out as well. And then we both got done, and we were talking for an hour and a half. And 2 days goes by, and I'm getting ready to head back to Florida to pack up all our stuff. And she texts me out of the blue and asked me if I'd be okay with getting together, catching up and stuff. And I said, I tried to play it off, I tried to play it off cool. I said, yeah, sure. But really I was like, yes. I joke with her now, because I tell her I've never had a girl ask me out on a date.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. You weren't even man enough to ask her out. She had to ask you.
Well, I didn't think that she would even be interested. And I joke with her because I was like, it only took you 16 years to give me a shot. So that was kind of how that played out. And I told her, we went to some steakhouse in Greensburg, and I told her, I was like, I don't know if you're treating this as a date, but I am. She's like, no, yes, I am. I was like, okay, cool. I'm in there.
And you don't remember what the steakhouse was? Come on, Kris. It's only been a few years ago, buddy.
I don't want to say which one it is because it was probably the worst steak that I've ever had. And I told her, I was like, we're probably never going back there again. So we dated for, I don't know, 6-7 months. And then we found out that she was pregnant. And I didn't want her to think that I was only asking her to marry me because she was pregnant, because that was definitely not the case. I had been thinking about it for a while and decided to pop the question. And I told her, she was like, I could tell you were nervous. And I was like, well, heck yeah, I was freaking nervous. He was like, I don't know why. You knew I was going to say yes. I was like, yeah, well, it's still pretty nerve wracking. But we got engaged, and then we ended up having our daughter October of 2025. Or 24, excuse me. And before that, bought our first house 3 blocks away from here. It's been great.
So, kind of funny thing is, like, you apply, you come in to interview, and you're like, hey, man, I don't know if you remember, but do you remember that you coached me in football? And I was like, well, yeah. Like, I mean, that is one thing. I coached, I'm not that old. I was coaching right out of high school into college just to kind of give back, and it's always cool as a coach when somebody approaches you and calls you coach, even if it was just little league, pee wee football, whatever, because like, and the older you look back and you realize the people that invested in you when you were little. And, like I was big in 4-H and FFA, and the amount of people that were at events every day or every week or, whatever that looks like, and coaching, like I know some parents get aggravated with coaches, but if you think about it, they spend a lot of money on their fuel to and from practices, games, and stuff like that, just to help out. So like that was pretty cool because, it's a lot of things that come full circle in life. And, you can love or you can hate the small town, but it's pretty cool to see full circle moments, like that. And, especially as a coach, this is going to sound bad if the wrong person hears it, but it's my podcast. I don't care. But even as a coach, you can tell which kids are going to be super successful at a young age, and we've all been dealt bad hands or hands we've had to deal with, so it's like I said, it was like literally when you applied, I was like, he's a good kid. I coached him. I said, he'll be all right. So that was fun for me, but it's for me, it was pretty cool when you came to me. It was like, hey, me and Lily's going to go ahead and go get married because that's the right thing to do. We just need to do it, and it wasn't some big elaborate wedding, and there's nothing wrong with a big, nice wedding, so just, and dude, you love her and she's great. We love, one thing you'll hear about around here is like the family atmosphere, the getting together, the girls all got together a few months ago and went and got their nails done or whatever. And like, it's fun when Emily can come home and be like, oh my gosh, that was a joy. Like,
Lily loved that, even though she had a pretty bad experience with it, because when she got her nails done the time before that, they put this like this stuff that they use for like embalming on it, and she couldn't really like hang out with all the other girls because it took them so long to like even just get her nails off. But she had a great time, and probably would have been nicer if she could like hang out with everybody, but no, she loved that. And that's kind of what I like about like how you guys run things is like actually having stuff like at your house, and Christmas parties and stuff like that. I feel like a lot of companies don't do that, and I like everybody coming together and hanging out and stuff like that. So
for the Christmas party this year, it just made sense with so many small kids. Like we were doing 2, we were having the kids one here before Christmas, and it got to the point that the office was full, which is fine. Like I loved all the noise, all the kids running around, but then me and Emily were talking, I was like, just pitch that to a couple of people and see if like, let's just do pizza at the house. And, it worked out. The weather happened to be nice that day, And
I feel like most places, like if you're having like some type of function, a Christmas party, 4th of July stuff, whatever it is, they would always, I feel like it would be normal practice to be like, hey, get the kids a babysitter,
right.
Blah, blah, blah. What I like about you is like, you're always like adamant about, hey, bring the kids,
right.
bring the kids.
Right.
And a lot of them are kind of around the same age, so it kind of works out because they can all play together and whatnot. So,
I mean, it'll be a lot of fun the next 5 to 10 years as the bulk of them kids, my kids are the old ones now, you know what I mean? Like I wasn't used to that in the beginning, but now really like Rhett he's kind of the old timer in there, Riley kind of fits right in, and there's a fair lot of little ones too. So yeah, like I said, that's what we enjoy, and like that's, as a business owner, that's what gives me the drive every day to get up and keep going, is like for them little kids. Like, what a lot of people don't understand as a business owner sometimes, like I carry a lot of weight on my shoulders knowing that you've got a wife and a daughter to provide for, so it's not just I need to help Kris. Like I'm here helping Avery, helping Lily, like, the whole 9 yards. And it's not me, it's being smart, keeping the business rolling so it gives opportunities, So what kind of, you were insurance sales, kind of a little bit about your career and how you ended up here, because I've always said this, like I don't really like hiring roofing people that have roofing sales experience. It's never worked out, my track record, and no offense to anybody that may watch this that may have worked here that didn't work out, but like our successful sales reps have come from outside of the roofing space. Now, what I did like about you was, and that's why when you first came, you were in the production, we're helping more on the production role. I was like, he's got the sales mentality. We've got to get him into sales.
I'll interrupt you there and I'll tell a quick little tidbit. I started off in production, and it was going great. I think we were flipping a house at the time, and my thought process why I applied was like I wanted to get into learning how to remodel and do this and that, and if I could get paid while I do it, great. And it was about a month, maybe month and a half after I started, Bob calls me in his office and he said, "Hey, me and Emily, we've been talking, and we think you'd be really good in sales." And he said, "There's no way a bait and switch." And I thought that was funny. And then he thinks he's slick because he was slowly moving me into sales stuff. Even after I told him, I was like, I'll sit on it. I'll talk with the wife, and then I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it. But I always tell him he's not slick. I made the decision to kind of go for it, but. I thought that was funny because you said, it's not a bait and switch. It's like, I get it. But
yeah, and I don't want anybody to ever consider that. I just, like I said, like this, you're talking like it just, and honestly, like I've always wanted a full-time guy that has ties to Rushville, just because we're past this now, but in the beginning, people would be offended when they called and Bob didn't show up to their house, like when it was Nick or something. And then even people that get offended, they would call back and it's like, "Oh my gosh, Nick was great. Oh my gosh, Kris was great." But I always joked, and all the guys kept coming out of Shelbyville with Nick, Kris, and Cody. I'm like, can I not hire anybody from my hometown? Like, and I just took it as, hey, I want good people. Like, I don't care where they're from, what their background is. Like, are they good people? Is their character, is their work ethic there? And one thing that I feel like a lot of our sales team, kind of the DNA of that is really caring, really nice. I get a lot of compliments on like how just nice you guys are out there. If it's Tanner, if it's you, if it's Kris, if it's Nick, if it's Cody, if it's Billy, and that's pretty cool. But that's a reflection of Kris as the leader in the sales department, because there's a high praise for Kris Britt. He's so kind, so I
always tell people we have another Kris, but he spells his with a CH, and I'm much better looking, so that's how you know the difference between us. But anyway.
Well, it's funny because I'll say Kris with a K, and now my kids refer to you as Kris with a K. So yeah, maybe we'll have to give you guys a different nickname. What you said it. I'm gonna go ahead and ask. I'm gonna pry a little bit. Like you said, you had to work on yourself. Like, what does that look like? Because I feel like there's not enough talking about like, hey, we all got struggles. We all got things that we got to work on.
I mean, a big part of it was when I moved to Florida. I don't think I was in a great space just mentally, and I was never really like a big, partier, going to clubs and stuff like that. That's not really my scene, but it was really just putting my head down, going to work. Before that, I had never really had a job that really made any money, so I wasn't used to that, but. It was really just, trying to build wealth, trying to work on my mental health. I was coming off of a long relationship and, didn't pan out. And it was really, the gym kind of saved me because it was work, 9 to 6, whatever it is. And I was fortunate because I lived across the street from the gym. And it was work 9 to 6, go to the gym for 2 hours, and then come home, get your nutrition, all that good stuff, and then just kind of hang out. And it was nice because I was living with my brother at the time. We had our own little townhouse, and I didn't really get to spend a lot of time with my brother, Brandon, just because he was in college, and I pick on him. He took like an extended stay at college. I think he was there for like 5 years. I'm like, goodness. But he was in Evansville, and I was in Rushville, Greensburg at the time, and didn't really get to spend much time with him, and I think that helped me too. Because I tell everybody, like, I don't have a ton of friends. I have a lot of convenient friends, but I consider my brother my best friend. So, but yeah, it was a lot of just going to the gym and working on myself that way. And I think for anybody who who is kind of a gym rat can kind of attest to that, how, going to the gym does help your mental health. And, but yeah, it was just 2-3 years straight of just doing that. Not messing around, not going to clubs, not, drinking and all that kind of stuff. And, like I said, I think that really helped me out and prepared me. And also too, it was like in my previous relationship, I don't think that, I was really a man yet, and I didn't really know how to approach, a relationship maturely. And I think taking that break and working on myself really helped and kind of prepared me for, eventually, getting married and treating my wife the right way. And I notice how a lot of other people approach their marriages, and not to like toot our own horn, but I think that we do it the right way. Communication's a lot. We don't fight about really anything, which I know you're probably saying, wow, newly married.
No, but I mean, there comes a time that we all grow up, and there is. You said it, like, become a man, like, and this world is full of boys that just because they're a certain age, people think they're men, or they act like they're men, where, you got to have the responsibility, and, you get a wife, you get a kid, like that's a whole different level of responsibility, especially a wife's one thing, a kid, like, and you decided to do that in a real short period of time,
Yeah, we hit the trifecta, had a kid, bought a house, got married, like all that stuff, like within a year. So
yeah.
It happened quick. It didn't happen necessarily how we wanted it to, because, we kind of hold traditional values. But, I wouldn't trade it for anything. Right. And I think when you're a guy and you find out that your wife's pregnant, I think every guy wants their first one to be a boy, which I did, and we got a blood test and we found out early, like what the gender was, and we found out it was a girl, and I wasn't like bummed out. I guess I was a little bit, but because I wanted a boy at first, but if I could go back and change it, I wouldn't, because my daughter is awesome. She's hilarious. She cracks us up every day. she's always learning something new, and she's, I don't know if everybody's kids are like this, but she's hilarious. She really is. She cracks us up every day.
So she must get that from her mom then? Is that what we're saying?
I don't know, but we'll say that because she looks just like me.
Yeah.
She's got to get some stuff from her mom. She does get her attitude from her mom. No, I'm kidding, but yeah, she's awesome, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Dude, kids are great, and having $2, same way. Like, there's just something about a little girl, her dad. And yeah, I mean, I was fortunate. I had a boy first, and then we never found out what we were having. And my poor wife, she could never be right. She said Rhett was a girl, and she said the girls were both boys, but it just, I remember coming out of the hospital when Reagan was born. And at this point, we're getting ready to move to Tennessee for me to go work for Dave Ramsey. So we're getting ready to completely flip our world upside down. And Reagan came out a girl, and I remember walking out of the hospital, and we'd only been at the hospital for like 14 hours because that's just who Reagan is, just a little bit of a pain in it. And I walked outside, and I remember looking at the sky, and I was like, God, is that right? What was I really supposed to have a daughter? And that just really matures you as a man, and like, to me, makes me even step back more of how I treat my wife, because like the girls are, our little girls are watching, and one day they're going to judge a man against us, and that's it's a big responsibility, as men, in this country. So, yeah, no, I mean, like I said, healthy kids are great. We're fortunate around here to have a bunch of healthy kids, throughout. So to me, that's huge. So, as we kind of transition more into like business, like, and you said it a little bit of like what makes us different, the family stuff, but kind of what makes us different, because like I've said, there's 150 roofing companies you can go work for around here if you really, really wanted to, and I always feel honored and humbled truly at the amount of talent that we have. Adam, with his tech talent and videography talent and all that, like Ellie the other night, like, was on her way home. Something wasn't done right. She turned around and got and pretty much finished somebody else's job. Like, the amount of talent that people put into here and effort is pretty cool. So, like, where's the buy-in for you for that?
Honestly, like, I've never like worked for anybody or a company, whatever, that has the kind of culture that you guys have built here. And that's one thing that I mentioned that to you a couple of weeks ago when we were on the phone, which makes me want to work. It makes me want to work harder. And I would just say, like, this company's values kind of align with my values, and really, with me, I had, and you kind of touched on it, I had 5 years of sales experience in insurance before I came here. And one thing that you learn in sales is that, like, people will know when you're BSing. Mm-hmm. You got to be confident and just be honest with people. And I know that's one thing that you guys preach a lot of is doing things with integrity and not screwing somebody over to get a buck. Because you're gonna make so much more money off of referrals, and things like that. Good reviews, so. Just kind of preaching, doing things with integrity was one thing that I really liked, because that just aligned with my values, and like I said, it just makes me want to work harder.
Well, and I mean, in life, like, truly, like, when you do stuff with integrity and you don't lie, like, you don't have to remember what you told that person. You know, like, literally, as we're recording this, we've been dealing with a problem roof for 6 months, and I think we finally got it figured out after we just had 2 inches of rain in what felt like 10 minutes, but to me, it never questioned, do I show back up to go take care of that? Like, it's like, go take the butt chewing when something's not right. Like, it happens sometimes, but and it is cool because, like, culture is the buzzword, but culture isn't just, oh, there's pizza in there. Like, culture truly is, like, encouraging Adam on his weight journey loss. You know, culture is checking in on kids. How's the wife doing? Like, I was just talking to Chris Britt, a sales manager, like earlier. I was just like, how's the family? Like, he's got a little one at home. And Kylo is almost 3 now. Did he already turn 3? I feel bad for saying that out loud.
He's 4.
Yeah, he's turned. He just turned 3. That's right. Because he was born in November because he didn't go to RoofCon with us. Chris didn't. But anyways, like, he's still getting adjusted to being a big brother and, you know, that kind of stuff. So, and it's nice to, it's nice for the relationship with the wives, you know, just like I said, the whole family atmosphere, people that care, because it just, I feel like there's a better, there's almost a level of accountability, or you doing your job even more better is not a real word. I understand that. But it's like when you realize, like, hey, I want to do my job right, so that makes Ellie's job easier. So if I half butt my job, then Ellie's job's harder, and then she doesn't get home to her kids in time. Like, there is that, you know, snowball effect, domino effect. Like, when we do things right, it makes life easier for everybody. And
everybody, I feel like everybody here likes everybody.
Yes.
And you know, everybody gets along, and that's one thing I liked when I first started, because for those of you that don't know, I had zero experience with roofing. I knew that there were shingles on a roof. That was about the extent of my knowledge of roofing. But that's one thing I really liked when I first started, was that, like, everybody was willing to help, whether it was Chris, my supervisor, or even if he wasn't available, you know, I could always reach out to Nick or Cody, or Emily, and you guys would all be willing to help. Especially
Notice
for new
he didn't
guys.
mention my name, but go ahead.
But no, Bob too. But you know, that kind of helped me out a lot, because, you know, it was kind of like I like to be prepared. So when I'm, you know, walking into the home with the customer, if they ask me a question, I want to know the answer to it. So it was nice with me not having any experience in roofing, that everybody was willing to help, and that kind of you know, highlights the whole the culture thing that I was speaking on before. So that was really a big help to me when I first started.
Well, and I mean, the best part about the sales team is, like, when Nick started here, like, he just pretty much was attached to my hip for 6 weeks, and I tried to pour as much as I could into him. And then Chris came along, and then Cody came along. And the nice thing is, like, when you hire good quality people and they get help from this person, they realize, hey, I get to help that person. I get to help that person. Like I said this, like, I remember when I hired Chris, Nick said, I look forward to helping train Chris like you trained me. And I'm like, that's pretty cool to hear out of a 25-year-old kid. Like, you know, and that's another thing. Like I said this earlier, the last podcast we did, like, I mean, we've got a lot of later 20-year-olds that are freaking rock stars that work their asses off, that are men that are raising families. And that's what this country needs. Like, not to go off on a crazy soapbox, but, like, we just need men to stand up, get married, have kids, and, you know, make a positive impact at first in their home, and then that overflows, you know, into a community. So, and that's why, like, when we interview so much, and, like, you know, like, really study people, and, you know, check out Facebook, and, like, ask people that I know that knows them, you know, and it's like, that's why, like, I was so harping on, like, okay, Chris is going into sales because I see it in him. Like, when Nick got here, like, Nick is the poster child. Like, Nick is an amazing sales guy, right? Been with us 5 years, more than 5 years now. The funny thing is, he was swinging for a hammer for a guy before he came to work for me. I told that guy to make him a salesperson. He told me I didn't know what I was doing. And then when they all came to work for me, it was in December, kind of similar to you. And I was like, hey, I need you to swing a hammer for a couple months. However, like, I think you're going to be successful in sales. And, you know, it's worked out okay for Nick. Am
I able to touch on our interview process?
Yeah, go ahead.
So
it's all fair.
It was weird, but it was cool at the same time, because, like, I've never had a job where I did three interviews. So the first interview, I came in, I talked to our production manager and one of our production guys. And like I said, I started off in production. So that was the first interview here at the office. And then second interview, I went out to your guys' house. And
that's right, because you ended up coming out to my house for it.
Yep. Yeah. I think you were out in the barn doing something with the cows or whatever you do out there. And so I was kind of, talking with Emily, and then you came in, and we kind of had our informal interview. Wasn't really like an interview. It was kind of just like a conversation, which was nice. But and then we did the spousal interview where we kind of went out to El Reparo, and I think you wanted to see how I interacted with the waiter and being out in the public and all that kind of stuff, or like if they messed up my order, like how would I handle that, which I think was pretty cool. Like I said, I've never had anybody do that as far as like doing 3 interviews, but I thought it was pretty nice. And you guys were, I think you were trying to get me to kind of lean more towards sales in that second interview, and I was like, I ain't having it. And for those of you that don't know, I had been doing insurance sales for 5 years before I came to Hoel, and I just kind of had a bad taste in my mouth because it was a lot of, hopefully don't come after me for saying this, but it was a lot of corporate BS. And, I always tell people, like, I'm for the people, man.
Right.
And I just got tired of defending corporate BS over the actual customer and telling them, BS stuff that I know isn't true. So I didn't really want to go into sales because of that. But I told you the other day on the phone, I was like, that's probably other than marrying my wife and having a kid, that's probably the best decision that I've ever made. So, appreciate you.
Well, and I mean, for me, it's fun to see talent, and you had it there. You had all the pieces. Like I had to be a quality enough of a leader to, like, for you to trust me enough to let me lead you in that, because like that's the thing that I've learned in hiring people. Like, you got to hire the person with the right qualities, and then there might be a little bit of like, all right, we need to focus over here, or hey, focus over here. But like, if you can't show up every day, I've hired people that couldn't sell because they couldn't seem to get out of bed till 10 o'clock. Like, I don't have anybody on my sales team that I wonder, like, it's 9:30. I wonder if them guys are even out of bed, So like, that's the little things. It's like, to me, the culture is the easy part in the beginning, because it's just what Bob and Emily says, but it turns into, what does Adam say in an interview? What does Ellie say in an interview? And I walked in an interview one time, Ellie was doing, the person ended up not working here. And I completely just trusted God on that. But she was like, hey, she was taking ownership in there. Like, if somebody would have been recording that, they would have thought she owned the company, not Bob and Emily. And I was like, damn, is she passionate? So, and that's no different. Like, I have a lot of people call me and say, your sales guys believe in you. And I've worked for roofing companies, that same thing. Like, one of the first roofing companies I worked for, and I will not mention names, like, I had a customer legitly irate, just ripping me a new one. And they're like, where are you at? And I'm like, I'm actually at the office. They're like, I want to talk to the owner. So I walked in there and I told the owner, I was like, here's this customer. The owner was aware of this problem. They want to talk to you. And I handed them the phone, and they grabbed the phone and they hit end, and they threw it back at me and said, I don't talk to customers. Now, every day is not my job to talk to 14 customers. However, I will, because, like, to me, you guys got to see me willing to take a butt chewing when I got to take a butt chewing, or just, just being a leader. So like I said, like, to me, it's cool. I believe in, like, what are you creating? How are you attracting that? And we're very fortunate to have a lot of quality people. But I also look back and realize, like you said, like, our values were your values. So you're going to attract people of your values. And it's even a gut check for me if somebody gets hired in here it's happened before. They really didn't fit our values, and it always cost me a lot of money and a lot of headaches, and I won't share any of them details just because I probably shouldn't. But it's like, okay, I told him, I was like, all right, let's just make sure, like, who we're hiring in here. And like, we just hired somebody to replace Ellie in her office admin position as she's running production. And I think we got a freaking rock star. But we even did more interviews with her than we did with you. Like I had Adam and Kris interviewing her. You know, so yeah, I mean, like I said, like it's fun for me, man. Like the humbleness that you bring, the appreciation. Like when you called all but in tears when I bought that truck for you, like to me, it's so much easier to reward a team member with that than one that wants to complain like the vehicle I'm driving is not good enough. You know, because guess what? I've had about 4 or 5 of them people. There ain't a one of them still here. They don't fit in. Like, and that's one thing that I learned from Dave Ramsey. Like when you have a good culture, you know, then you start having questions with like, hey, Adam, you know this person. Yeah. What do you think? You know, I don't think that one's going to be the right move. You know, so and you've got to trust your people. Like you got to know them well enough. You know, like I always tell the story when Nick called me about Kris with a C, I guess. I was like, no, we don't hire buddies. He's like, no, I promise you, like this is a legit one to talk to. So, you know, yeah, that's what it's all about for us. So
that panned out.
Yeah, absolutely. And then kind of the next question we ask, we're trying to keep this all formatted kind of the same, and I kind of get down squirrel avenues here. So what is your favorite product to sell?
Oh, that's a good question. I probably just a shingle. I mean, we do. I would say on my end, Nick might have a different answer for this, just because he's big time. But I'm selling mostly just an Owens Corning duration shingle. Just
that'll make the OC rep happy because the last guy was talking about malarkey. So you give OC credit. He'll be happy about that.
Yeah. Cody said malarkey.
I think so.
Cody or Kris or Nick, one of them. But no, it's just, and the reason, like, I'm selling a lot of that just because it's affordable. Everybody knows Owens Corning.
Yep.
And it's a quality shingle, but it's affordable.
Yeah.
And you've got the most color options with that. So, and I think people kind of gravitate towards that because it's a quality shingle. It's going to last a long time, and you also get discounts on your insurance with it, so that's always a plus.
Absolutely. As we kind of wrap up, like any words of advice just for people in general, and it doesn't have to be anything to do with working at Hoel Roofing. It don't have to do anything with sales. Like just any words of advice for you're still a young man, but there's still a lot of younger guys out there that might listen that speak some life into.
Just believe in yourself, man, and whatever you do believe in, just be confident in it, and just if you're a man, be a good man, and take care of your family. And I might strike a nerve with some people on this, and it's crazy that I have to say that, but be a good family man. Mm-hmm. That's one thing that I've really learned in the last 5 years or so is there's nothing wrong with taking care of your family, coming home and just hanging out with your family all night. Like I said, I don't have a ton of friends. I don't hang out with a lot of people. If I'm hanging out with somebody, it's probably my parents, mm-hmm. my brother, or the wife's side of the family. And I don't see anything wrong with that. People might call that boring or living a boring life, but like your grandparents will say, living a boring life is nice.
Right.
Peace and quiet is nice. So, just sticking to your values and just being a good person. That's all I would say.
Well, Kris, I want to thank you for you're a fantastic husband, fantastic father, and we appreciate everything you do on our team. So thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity.